You didn't kill your lavender. You loved it too much. That gorgeous plant you brought home from the nursery, the one you pictured spilling purple across a sunny corner of your garden. 6 weeks later, it was a handful of dry gray twigs, and you probably blamed yourself. Here's what almost nobody selling you that plant will admit. Most of what you were told about watering it, feeding it soil, and cutting it back was backwards. This isn't a plant that needs more care. It needs almost none, and figuring out exactly how little is the whole secret. Stay with me. Over the next several minutes, you're getting 5 corrections that come from how lavender survives with zero help. On rocky hillsides where nothing waters it, nothing feeds it, and nothing prunes it but wind. One of these 5 is responsible for more dead lavender than every pest, frost, and drought combined. And it's the one thing your instincts are probably telling you to do more of, not less. To understand why lavender keeps dying in home gardens, go back almost 2,000 years to the public bathhouses of the Roman Empire. Romans valued this plant so highly for scenting bathwater that its name is built around that use. Lavender comes from the Latin verb lavare, to wash. As the empire expanded, soldiers and traders carried it out of its native hillsides and planted it across the continent. But here's the detail that gets left out of most garden center advice. The Romans weren't tending a delicate ornamental. They were harvesting a plant that already grew wild, unwatered and unfed, straight out of shallow, stony ground under punishing sun for months at a stretch. Nobody was babying it 2,000 years ago, and it still filled every bathhouse in the empire. Somewhere between that history and the plastic pot on today's nursery shelf, that understanding got lost. Lavender was repackaged as a fussy ornamental, sold in rich potting soil with instructions to water it like a fern. That repackaging is the actual root of most home garden failures. Every instinct you bring to caring for it, feed it, water it on a schedule, tuck it into rich mulch, was built for forest and meadow plants, not for something that evolved on a bare hillside. Apply that instinct here, and you're not caring for a tough survivor. You're smothering it in comfort it was never built to handle. Once you accept that lavender only looks delicate and is actually one of the toughest plants you could put in the ground, everything else, the soil, the water, the pruning, starts to make sense. Secret 1. Stop giving lavender your best garden bed. Find the worst spot you have, the driest, sunniest, most neglected corner, where nothing else wants to grow. That's exactly where lavender wants to be. If it's on a slope facing the sun, even better. Secret 2 is the soil itself. Well drained, sounds like a box you've probably already ticked, but lavender needs a version of that far more aggressive than most people imagine. Dig a hole, roughly double the width of the root ball, keeping the depth shallow. Take out about half the soil you dug up and swap it for something coarse, builder's sand, gravel, or broken stone that lets water pass through almost instantly, not fine sandbox sand. Blend that into your remaining native soil, then set the plant slightly proud of the ground, on a low hump a couple of inches high, so rain sheds away from the crown instead of collecting there. That small rise matters because a dead lavender is almost never a thirsty one. It's a suffocated one. Even in a bone-dry summer, roots sitting in damp ground can rot long before they'd run short of water. Leave the compost bag in the shed too. Feed lavender well, and it repays you with weak, leggy stems and a fainter scent. The aromatic oils responsible for its fragrance build up under stress, not under pampering. Secret 3. Saves more lavender than anything else on this list, and it runs against every gardening instinct you have. Cut your watering back drastically, almost to nothing. When the foliage looks tired, droopy, or starts yellowing near the bottom, the reflex is to grab the hose. Resist it. That look is far more often a symptom of too much water than too little. For the first couple of weeks after planting, give the plant a deep soak once a week so its roots can settle in. Beyond that window, Only water once it's gone dry for close to a month with no rain, and a finger pushed a couple of inches into the soil comes back without a trace of dampness. When you do water, do it thoroughly in one go, then leave it completely alone until it's dried out again. No sneaking in a top-up in between. Through winter, put the hose away entirely, even during a stray, mild spell. A dormant plant sitting in cold, saturated ground accounts for more lavender losses than disease or insects ever do. Containers raise the stakes further. Pick unglazed terracotta over plastic or glazed pottery, since it wicks moisture out through its walls. If the pot has only one drainage hole, add a few more. And skip the saucer altogether. Standing water underneath undoes everything else you've done right. Secret 4 is the cut most people either avoid completely or get badly wrong. Lavender needs shaping twice a year, and both passes matter. Make the first cut in early spring, right as fresh green shoots start pushing out from the gray stems, and go firmer than feels comfortable. You're rounding the whole shrub into a compact dome and taking off close to a third of the leafy growth in one pass, not just tidying the edges. The second pass comes once flowering has finished, usually toward the end of summer. Strip off the faded flower spikes, along with an extra inch or so of foliage, reshaping that same dome. One rule decides whether this helps the plant or kills it. Your blade should never touch the gray, bare wood at the plant's core. That older wood has no buds left, so a cut there doesn't heal or resprout. The stem is finished for good. Stop at least an inch short of it, staying inside living green tissue every time. Keep this up annually, even in a plant's first year when it feels too small to touch, and it can stay full and blooming for well over a decade. Miss a season and the center starts to gape open, turning bare and brittle in the middle, a state that's often impossible to reverse within a couple of years. Longevity in lavender isn't luck. It's a shrub that's been reshaped on schedule, year after year, without exception. So if these corrections are this straightforward, ask yourself why nearly every big box nursery still sells you the same generic lavender, potted in the same rich, moisture-holding mix, with a care tag telling everyone to water it weekly, no matter whether you're gardening through a brutal winter or a soaking humid summer. That's not an oversight. It's a business model. A plant matched to your climate, planted the way its biology actually demands, and left alone for a decade doesn't need replacing. A plant that struggles under generic instructions needs constant feeding, and quietly dies within 2 years does. Climate Match is the one piece of information that would cost a garden center nothing to print on the tag, and it's almost always the piece left off. There are 3 families worth knowing. English types, think Munstead or Hidcote, take cold better than the others and carry the sweetest scent for kitchen use, which makes them the pick if your winters bring real frost and snow, though they sulk in muggy, humid summers. French and Spanish varieties, easy to spot from the showy upright flags topping each bloom spike, look spectacular but can't take a hard freeze. They belong in mild, coastal conditions or a container you can move indoors before the cold arrives. Then there's Lavender, the hybrid behind names like Grosso and Provence, bigger, tougher, better, with heat and a touch of humidity, and forgiving enough of mistakes that it's usually the safest bet if your climate doesn't sit at either extreme. Buy the pretty one that was never built to survive your winter, and no amount of correct soil or correct pruning will save it. Go outside right now. Look at your lavender. Check whether it's drowning in rich soil, sitting in a damp, low corner, or simply the wrong variety for your winters. Fix that one thing, then step back and do nothing else. Lavender has survived 2,000 years of neglect on bare rock. Your job was never to save it. It's to get out of its way